Hello there, welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Galaxy, where humans face the unknown, outsmart the impossible, and turn every test into victory. So sit back and let the story begin.
The drill bit screamed through 40 meters of dead rock before it punched into nothing. Ren Soloway felt the vibration change in his hands and killed the power immediately. In 17 years of salvage work on abandoned moons, he had learned one thing. When the drill drops, you stop and think before you dig deeper. Hollow 9 was a garbage moon. The Gorvathi Dominion had used it as a military depot decades ago, then stripped it and left. Now freelance crews like Wren's picked through the bones, pulling out old wiring and decommissioned tech to sell on the black market. It was boring, dirty work. Nothing interesting ever happened on Hollow 9. Until today, his crew gathered around the hole. Three of them, Wren, his engineer Koss, and a young Fethki medic named Nally who was barely out of training. Nally was small and bird-like, with soft gray feathers and wide dark eyes that always looked worried. She pressed a scanner against the edge of the hole and made a clicking sound with her beak. "There's a cavity below," she said, "approximately 8 meters across. And Wren, there's a power signature." Wren stared at her. "That is not possible. This moon has been dead for 12 years. The readings are clear. Something down, there is drawing power." They cut through the rock carefully, widening the hole until they could lower themselves inside. What they found was a room, smooth walls, sealed floor, and in the center, a cryostasis vault. A Gorvathi military model, old but still humming with energy. Cables ran from the vault into the rock itself, tapping into a geothermal line that the Gorvathi had apparently left active when they abandoned everything else. Wren circled the vault slowly. Through the frosted glass panel on top, he could see a shape, a body, human, who buries a person on a moon and leaves the power running. Koss whispered. Nally was already scanning. Her feathers puffed up in distress as she read the results. "The subject is alive. Human female. Vital signs are stable." She paused, and her voice dropped. "There are neural cables connected directly to her brain. Wren, this vault is not just keeping her alive. It is feeding something into her mind." "What kind of something?" Nally read the data 3 times before answering. "Simulated death scenarios. 480 unique execution sequences. They have been running on a continuous loop for approximately 20 years. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crack stone." Wren made the call. They disconnected the cables one by one, carefully, following Nally's instructions. The vault hissed, and the frost melted off the glass. The woman inside opened her eyes. They were brown, steady. They moved across each face in the room with a slowness that felt deliberate, as if she was cataloging every detail. Then she spoke. Her voice was rough from disuse, but perfectly calm. "Which death was that one?" Nobody answered. Nally helped her sit up. The woman looked at her own hands for a long moment, flexing her fingers as if confirming they were real. She was thin but not wasted. The stasis vault had preserved her body well. She looked like a woman in her 50s, though her movements had a strange mechanical quality, like someone who had forgotten the rhythm of being alive. "What year is it?" she asked. Wren told her. She absorbed the number without visible reaction. 20 years. 20 years buried alive on a dead moon with nothing but 480 ways to die playing on repeat inside her skull. Wren expected her to scream, to cry, to collapse. She asked for water, then she asked for a star map, then she asked for the current Gorvathi fleet deployment. In that order. Wren brought her water. He did not have a star map or fleet intelligence on a salvage rig, and he told her so. She drank the water slowly, watching the room with those steady brown eyes. "My name is Dara Finn," she said. "I was a border scout. I was captured during a skirmish at the Pale Reach 20 years ago. The Gorvathi did not execute me. They buried me here, and they killed me 480 times inside my own mind." Nally made a soft sound of distress. "The simulations, do you remember them?" "Every one. All 480. Dara looked at her. "Every corridor I walked through. Every ship I was held on. Every officer who gave the order. Every weapon they used. Every detail of every vessel, from the bridge layout to the maintenance shafts to the rotation schedule of the guard shifts. She paused. They wanted to break me. Instead, they gave me a 20-year education in Gorvathi military architecture. Koss took a step backward. Ren did not move. He looked at the woman sitting on the edge of the vault that had been her coffin for 2 decades, and he saw something in her face that he could not name. It was not anger. It was not madness. It was patience, the kind of patience that only comes from dying 480 times and choosing every single time to pay attention instead of giving up. "What did they do to you?" he asked quietly. Dara Finn looked up at him. Her expression did not change. Her voice did not waver. "They made a mistake." Dara did not sleep on the salvaged ship. She sat in the cargo bay with a digital pad Ren had given her, and she drew. Page after page, hour after hour. Her hand moved with a certainty that made Nally uncomfortable to watch. There was no hesitation, no pausing to remember. She drew the way someone breathes, automatic, constant, and without effort to be why the time Ren checked on her 6 hours later, she had filled 47 pages with ship layouts. Every drawing was precise. Clean lines, labeled rooms, marked corridors. Each one was a different Gorvathi vessel. Cruisers, carriers, frigates, even a dreadnought class that Ren had only heard rumors about. "These are from the simulations?" he asked. Every death took place on a real ship design, Dara said without looking up. The Gorvathi built the execution scenarios using actual blueprints. They wanted the environments to feel real, so the psychological damage would be deeper. They did not consider that a prisoner might choose to memorize her surroundings instead of just suffering through them. Ren sat down across from her. "You memorized the layouts of 480 different ships while being killed on them. Not all were different ships. Some deaths were repeated on the same class with different scenarios. But the total comes to approximately 93 unique vessel designs spanning 20 years of Gorvathi military production." He stared at her. Human intelligence has been trying to map Gorvathi ship designs for 30 years. "I know." Ren had a contact, a woman named Bray who had served in the border fleet before going private. He called her on a secure channel and explained the situation in as few words as possible. Bray listened, said nothing for 10 seconds, and then patched him directly through to Admiral Casson at the Border Fleet Command Station. Admiral Casson was sharp-faced and skeptical. She had been a junior lieutenant when Dara Finn disappeared 20 years ago. She remembered the name from old mission reports, a border scout, presumed dead, file closed. Now Ren was telling her that the woman was alive and sitting in his cargo bay, drawing Gorvathi ship blueprints from memory. "Put her on," Casson said. Dara appeared on the screen. Casson studied her for a moment, then asked a test question. The internal layout of the Gorvathi stealth carrier class, a ship that human intelligence had been trying to map for 5 years without success. Dara picked up the digital pad and drew the entire thing in under 3 minutes. Every deck, every corridor, every system junction. She marked a structural weakness near the aft reactor housing, an unshielded maintenance conduit that ran too close to the primary coolant line. No human scan had ever detected it. Casson was quiet for a long time. "How do I know this is real?" she asked. "Send an engineering team to verify the reactor weakness," Dara said. "If I am wrong, you have lost nothing. If I am right, you'll want to hear about the other 92 ships." Casson ordered them to come in immediately. Full speed. No stops. A.S. Ren set the course. Nally pulled him aside in the corridor. The young Fethki medic looked shaken. Her feathers were flat against her skull, which Ren had learned meant she was deeply worried. "Her brain scans are abnormal," Nally said quietly. "Not damaged, abnormal. The neural pathways associated with spatial memory and threat assessment have been reinforced far beyond anything in medical literature. 20 years of repeated death simulations forced her brain to adapt in ways I have never seen documented. She does not just remember those ships, Ren. She experiences them. She can walk through them in her mind as easily as you walk through this corridor. Is that dangerous?" Nally hesitated. "It is remarkable. It is also terrifying. I do not know what the long-term effects will be." In the cargo bay, Dara continued drawing. She had moved past ship layouts now. She was sketching officer command structures, guard rotation patterns, weapons loadout configurations. 20 years of simulated captivity had given her a window into the operational habits of the Gorvathi military that no spy could have achieved. She had watched their soldiers escort her through ship after ship. She had listened to their officers give orders. She had noticed which ones were competent and which ones were lazy. She had studied the way they moved, the way they communicated, the way they made mistakes. She drew all of it. Meanwhile, 40 light years away, an automated monitoring station on the edge of Gorvathi space registered an anomaly. Vault 7 on hollow. 9 had gone dark. The power signature that had burned steadily for 20 years had flatlined. The alert traveled through Gorvathi military channels until it reached a command station orbiting a gas giant near the border. Overseer Galin read the report in his private chamber. He was tall, even by Gorvathi standards, an insectoid figure with 6 limbs and compound eyes that reflected the blue light of his screens. He had authorized the burial program personally. Vault 7 was his project, his prisoner, his experiment. That he read the report again, then a third time. His lower arms gripped the edge of his desk. His upper arms were perfectly still. That he did not send a retrieval team. He did not send investigators. He sent a kill fleet. 12 warships broke from formation and jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading for the human border zone. Their orders were not to recover a prisoner. Their orders were to make sure that whatever had come out of that vault did not live long enough to share what it had learned. Galin sat alone in his chamber after the fleet departed. For the first time in his career, the overseer was afraid. Not of failure, not of his superiors. He was afraid of a single human woman who had spent 20 years learning every secret his military had to offer, because they had been foolish enough to show her. The interrogation room at the border station was gray and cold and designed to make people uncomfortable. Dara Finn sat in the metal chair as if she had been born in it. 6 military intelligence officers faced her across the table. Admiral Casson watched from a screen on the wall. None of them had slept. They had been questioning her for 9 hours. She had not asked for a break. Death number 53, said the lead interrogator, a man named Wynn with tired eyes. You claim it took place on a Gorvathi assault frigate, Variant 4. Describe the weapons bay. Dara described it. She gave the dimensions, the number of torpedo racks, the position of the manual override panel, and the fact that the emergency pressure seals on the starboard side were 3 centimeters thinner than standard because the Variant 4 was a rush production model built during a supply shortage. Wynn checked her description against classified intelligence files. Every detail matched. The parts that did not match were details that human intelligence had never obtained, details that were impossible to verify yet. How do we know those details are not fabricated? Asked a woman at the end of the table. She could be a Gorvathi plant. They'd bury her for 20 years, feed her a mix of real and false information, and then let us find her. Dara looked at the woman. If I were a Gorvathi plant, the information I provided would be slightly wrong in ways that lead your fleet into traps. Run every blueprint I have given you against your existing intelligence. You will find that my information corrects errors in your own files. A plant would reinforce your mistakes, not fix them. The room went quiet. Casson leaned forward on the screen. Show me what you can do. They moved to the Tactical Simulation Center, a large room with holographic displays that could model fleet engagements in real time. The simulation they loaded was standard military training, an assault on a Gorvathi heavy cruiser, Variant 6. The best time ever recorded for completing the scenario was 11 minutes, achieved by a 6-person tactical team from the Border Fleet's elite unit. Dara stood at the console alone. She studied the display for 15 seconds. Then she began giving commands. She did not rush. Her voice was flat and even like someone reading a grocery list. She routed the simulated attack force through a maintenance corridor on the cruiser's port side, a corridor that was not in any human tactical database, but which she had walked through during death number 31 on her way to being executed by firing squad on the observation deck. She disabled the cruiser's internal defense grid by targeting a relay junction that standard tactics would never prioritize. She knew the junction was critical because during death number 31, She had watched a Gorvathi technician reroute power through it when the ship's systems flickered during her simulated walk to the execution point. She had been dying, and she had still been paying attention 0.4 minutes. She completed the scenario in 4 minutes. Alone, the tactical officers stared at the display. Wynn sat down slowly. Even the woman who had called her a plant said nothing. Casson authorized Dara as a tactical consultant with immediate effect. She was given a small team. Rin as her civilian liaison because he refused to leave, Nally as her personal medic because her brain activity needed constant monitoring, and a squad of 12 border Marines led by a sergeant named Holt who made it clear from the first handshake that he did not trust her. "You spent 20 years in a box," Holt said. "No offense, but that does not make you a soldier." "You are right," Dara replied. "It makes me something the Gorvathi have never had to fight before." Word spread fast. Within days, the galactic community knew. The Compact, a loose alliance of alien trading races, began asking questions through diplomatic channels. A human had been tortured for 2 decades and came out more dangerous than before. The reactions ranged from fascination to horror. The Fethki ambassador, a tall elderly bird with silver feathers, contacted Nally through a private channel. Nally expected sympathy. What she got was a warning. "The other races are not concerned about your human's health," the ambassador said. "They are afraid. The Gorvathi designed the burial program to destroy minds. Instead, it created something unprecedented. Several Compact members are already discussing whether Dara Finn should be classified as a biological weapon under galactic convention." Nally's feathers flattened in shock. "She's a person. She is a victim. She is a victim who can dismantle a warship's defenses from memory. In the Compact's eyes, that makes her a threat." Before Nally could respond, alarms tore through the station. Every screen in the command center lit up red. 12 Gorvathi warships had dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the border zone. They were in attack formation that a communication came through on all channels. Overseer Golan appeared on the screen, tall, insectoid, his compound eyes catching the light of his own bridge. He did not demand Dara's return. He did not offer terms. His voice was cold and precise. "You do not understand what you have found. She is not a survivor. She is a weapon we accidentally loaded. Surrender her for destruction, or I will burn that station to its foundation." Casson looked at the screen. Then she looked at Dara, who stood at the back of the room watching the Gorvathi fleet display with the same steady calm she had carried since the moment she opened her eyes in that vault. Casson opened the response channel. "Come a try. 6 heavy cruisers. For carriers, a dreadnought, and 1 Gorvathi command frigate carrying Overseer Golan himself. 12 warships in total, positioned along the border in a crescent formation designed to cut off any retreat. The human side had 2 cruisers, 5 frigates, and a border station with defensive guns that had not been upgraded in 7 years. On paper, it was not a battle. It was an execution. Admiral Casson stood at the command center's central display and stared at the numbers. Every officer in the room knew what those numbers meant. They were outgunned 3-1 at minimum. The smart move was to negotiate. The realistic move was to evacuate. Dara Finn stepped forward and looked at the display. She studied the enemy formation the way a person studies a sentence they have read many times before, not searching for meaning, but confirming what they already know. "The lead cruiser is a Korath class, variant 7, she said quietly. I died on one during simulation number 112. The targeting array has a 2-second blind spot during rapid lateral movement. The second cruiser is a variant 5, older model. The shield emitters on the ventral hull overheat after sustained fire and require a 6-second cooling cycle." She pointed to each ship in turn. She knew them all, not from intelligence reports, not from scans. She knew them because she had walked their corridors as a prisoner. She had been dragged past their systems on the way to her own death. She had heard their officers talk, watched their crews work, and memorized every detail while her brain was being torn apart by simulated executions. Casson looked at her for a long moment. "Can you win this?" "I can make them lose," Dara said. "That is not the same thing, but it is enough." Casson gave her tactical authority. Sergeant Holt, standing nearby with his arms crossed, said nothing. His jaw was tight. Every Marine in the room was tense. They were about to trust their lives to a woman who had spent 20 years in a coffin. Dara began giving orders. Her voice never rose above a conversational tone. She split the frigates into two groups. 3 went left, circling wide through a debris field that cluttered the sector. 2 went right, hugging close to an asteroid cluster. The cruisers held position near the station. The debris field, Dara said. Gorvathi long-range scanners cannot penetrate dense metallic interference at distances greater than 4,000 kilometers. I know this because during death number 87, a Gorvathi scan operator on a carrier bridge complained about the calibration limits to his supervisor while I was being walked past. He said, and I quote, "The field eats our returns past 4,000. I was about to be shot out of an airlock. I still listened. The frigates entered the debris field and vanished from the Gorvathi screens. Galin ordered his fleet forward. The Gorvathi moved in standard formation. Heavy cruisers leading, carriers behind providing fighter coverage, the dreadnought anchoring the center. It was textbook, predictable. Every move followed the doctrine that Dara had spent 20 years studying from the inside. She called their maneuvers before they happened. When the lead cruiser angled for a flanking pass, she had already repositioned a frigate to intercept. When the carriers launched fighters, she directed the human cruisers to focus fire on the launch bays during the 18-second window, when the carriers' forward shields dropped to allow the fighters through, a window she knew about because death number 209 had taken place on a carrier bridge during a launch sequence. The Gorvathi fighters scattered into the debris field to hunt the hidden frigates. They found nothing. Dara had positioned the frigates in the scanned dead zone she knew existed because a bored Gorvathi technician had once complained about them within earshot of a woman he thought was already broken. The human frigates hit the Gorvathi formation from behind. 2 cruisers took critical damage. 1 carrier lost its engine block when a frigate put a torpedo directly into the ventral coolant junction, a weak point Dara had identified from death number 144. The battle lasted 40 minutes. It felt like 4 hours. The command center was chaos. Alarms, shouted reports, damage assessments. Through all of it, Dara stood at the display and spoke in the same quiet voice, calling targets, predicting movements, exploiting weaknesses that no human fleet had ever known existed. Point 2 Gorvathi cruisers were destroyed. 1 carrier was crippled and drifting. The dreadnought took heavy damage to its port side. The remaining ships pulled back, breaking formation for the first time. Galen's command frigate retreated behind the dreadnought's bulk. For the first time in 30 years of border conflict, a smaller human force had beaten a larger Gorvathi fleet decisively. The command center erupted. Officers cheered. Marines slammed their fists on consoles. Even Holt allowed himself a single nod of respect. Dara did not react. She stood perfectly still, watching the retreating dreadnought on the display. Her face was blank. Her hands were steady at her sides. Nally approached her carefully. "Are you all right?" "Death number 344 took place on that dreadnought," Dara said. "They walked me through the command deck before they killed me. Gollum was there that time. He watched. He wanted to see my face when I understood what was happening." She paused. "He will come back. He will bring more ships. And I will be ready because he taught me everything I needed to know. Every single time he killed me, he was handing me another weapon." She turned from the display and walked out of the room alone. Behind her, the celebration continued. She did not look back. Every species in the compact heard about the battle within a day. The details spread through diplomatic channels, trade networks, and black market information brokers faster than any official report could travel. A human woman, buried alive for 20 years, tortured with 480 simulated executions, had dismantled a superior Gorvathi fleet using nothing but the knowledge her captors had accidentally given her. The reactions were not what the humans expected. The Fethki called it a medical miracle and requested access to Nally's brain scan data for research purposes. The Drenith, a reptilian species known for their warrior culture, sent a formal message recognizing Dara as a combat strategist of the highest order, an honor they had never extended to a non-Drenith before. The Palori Trade Consortium doubled their insurance rates for any shipping route near the human border zone. and 3 compact member species quietly began drafting a resolution to have Dara Finn classified as a biological weapon. Nally learned about the resolution from the Fethki ambassador during a private call. The old bird spoke carefully, choosing each word the way a surgeon chooses an incision point. The compact is afraid, the ambassador said. Not a Dara Finn specifically. They are afraid of what she proves. If one human can endure 20 years of mental torture and emerge more dangerous than before, what does that say about the species? It says we survive, Nally replied. Exactly, and that is what frightens them. On the station, Dara was aware of the political situation. She did not care about it. She spent her days in the tactical center, running simulations, refining strategies, mapping out every possible Gorvathi response to the defeat. She ate when Nally reminded her. She slept in short bursts, never more than 2 hours at a time. Rin tried to pull her away from the screens. She looked at him as if he was speaking a language she had forgotten. You need to rest, Rin said. You are not a machine. I spent 20 years not being a person, Doris said. I'm not sure how to start again. The simulations were constant. Every few hours, another death, another ship, another walk through corridors I had already memorized. The only thing I could control was what I chose to notice. So I noticed everything. Rin sat down beside her. What did you hold on to during all those years? What kept you sane? Dara was quiet for a long time. Counting. I counted every death. I numbered them. I organized them. I turned the worst thing they could do to me into a filing system. That was how I survived. I made their cruelty into data. Late that night, Nally found Dara alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars through the station's main viewport. The medic sat beside her in silence for a while before asking the question she had been holding back for days. Which death was the worst? Dara did not hesitate. Number 12. It was not violent. There was no execution. They put me in a room, just a plain gray room, and left me there. In the simulation, I aged. I grew old. I sat in that room for what felt like 40 years until I died of nothing. No enemy, no pain, just time and silence. Nally's feathers pressed flat against her body. Why was that the worst? Because I could not learn from it. The deaths where they killed me, those gave me information. Ship layouts, guard patterns, weapon systems. I could turn those into something useful. But the room with nothing in it? There was nothing to learn, nothing to hold on to. That one nearly broke me because it had no purpose. She turned to look at Nally. The Gorvathi designed 480 ways to destroy a human mind. 479 of them failed because they gave me something to study. The one that almost worked was the one where they gave me nothing at all. 2 days later, the intelligence team intercepted a Gorvathi military communication. The encryption was heavy, but the border fleet's code breakers cracked it within hours. The message was from Overseer Golan to the Gorvathi High Command. Nally was present when Casson read it to the senior staff. The burial program was designed to destroy enemies. We did not account for a species that treats destruction as education. I am requesting full sector reinforcement. The subject must be eliminated before her knowledge can be further weaponized. Casson closed the file. He is coming back. The intelligence estimates were staggering. Golan had pulled ships from 3 sectors. The incoming fleet was 3 times the size of his first assault force, enough firepower to destroy the border station, the fleet defending it, and anything else within weapons range. He was not coming to win a battle. He was coming to make sure nothing like Dara Finn could ever happen again. Casson called Dara to the command center and showed her the report. Dara read it in silence. Her expression did not change. She studied the fleet composition for several minutes, her eyes moving across the data with that same mechanical precision that made everyone around her uneasy. Then she stopped. Her finger rested on one entry in the fleet roster. He brought the Forge-class command ship, she said. Casson frowned. What about it? I died on a Forge-class. Death number 461. The command bridge has a single unshielded maintenance conduit that runs directly beneath the Admiral's station. It connects the shield generator to the primary reactor. If you disrupt that conduit, both systems fail simultaneously. She looked up at Casson. I need 1 shuttle, 1 pilot, and about 4 minutes. The armada filled the border zone like a wall of iron and hate. 36 warships in tight formation, bristling with weapons, moving with the slow confidence of a force that knows it cannot be stopped. At the center sat the Forge-class command ship, Galen's flagship, the largest vessel in the Gorvathi fleet, carrying enough firepower to crack a moon. Cassin looked at the display and said nothing. Every officer in the command center understood the math. The human fleet could delay this force. It could not defeat it. Everything depended on a single shuttle, a salvage pilot, and a woman who had died 480 times. Dara stood in the shuttle bay, pulling on a light tactical suit. Ren was already in the pilot's seat, running pre-flight checks with hands that were not entirely steady. Nally appeared at the shuttle door. "I'm coming with you," the Fethki medic said. "No, Dara replied. You need medical monitoring. Your brain activity has been irregular for 2 days. If you suffer a neural event during the mission, Ren cannot help you." Dara looked at her. For the first time since the vault, something shifted in her expression. Not warmth exactly, but recognition. An acknowledgement that someone cared whether she lived through this. "Get in," she said. The shuttle launched as the fleets engaged. Cassin had spread the human ships wide, forcing the Gorvathi to disperse their fire across multiple targets. It was a delaying action, nothing more. The human cruisers traded shots with the lead Gorvathi destroyers while the frigates darted between the larger ships, drawing attention and absorbing hits they could barely survive. Inside the shuttle, Dara guided Ren through the chaos with a voice as calm as still water. Left past the carrier's sensor cone, the scan array had a 40-degree blind spot on the port quarter. She knew this from death number 190. Below the destroyer's ventral guns, the targeting servos could not depress past -15 degrees. She had watched a gunner complain about it during death number 307. Through the gap between the cruiser and the supply ship, the Gorvathi never positioned escort craft in that corridor because doctrine said the cruiser's shields covered it, but the shields had a 2-second gap during power cycling. She knew every hole in their armor because they had shown her every ship from the inside while killing her over and over again. The shuttle slipped through the Gorvathi formation like a needle through cloth. No alarms. No intercept. Ren was sweating through his suit. Nally gripped her medical kit with both taloned hands. Dara sat perfectly still, watching the Forge-class command ship grow larger through the viewport. "Docking port 7, she said. "Lower hull, aft section. Security cycles on a 90-second rotation. We dock during the gap." Ren brought the shuttle in. The magnetic clamps engaged with a soft thud. The hatch opened. Inside the Forge-class, Dara moved like a ghost. She had walked these corridors before, as a prisoner, hands bound, guards on either side, walking toward death number 461. Now she walked them alone and free, and she remembered every step. Left at the junction, down the service ladder, past the secondary armory. 2 guards stationed there during standard alert, but during combat operations they were reassigned to damage control on deck 4. She knew this because on the day of death 461, the guards had mentioned it to each other while dragging her past. They reached the maintenance conduit beneath the command bridge. It was exactly where she remembered, a narrow access shaft running between the shield generator coupling and the primary reactor feed. A critical junction point protected by nothing more than a standard service panel, because the Gorvathi engineers who designed the Forge class never imagined anyone would get this deep into the ship. Dara opened the panel. Inside was a tangle of conduits and power relays. She placed a device against the main coupling. Not a bomb, but a systems override built from Gorvathi components that Ren had salvaged from Hollow 9. Their own technology turned against them. 30 seconds, she said. An alarm screamed somewhere above them. Galen had detected the intrusion. Too late, Dara activated the device. The Forge class went dark. Every light, every screen, every system died at once. The shield generator failed. The reactor stalled. The most powerful warship in the Gorvathi fleet became a floating, powerless shell in the middle of a battle it was supposed to win. Cassin saw the flagship go dark and opened every channel she had. Gorvathi fleet, your command ship has been neutralized. We are offering a ceasefire. Stand down. Without the Forge class, the Gorvathi fleet shattered. Their doctrine was built on centralized command. Individual captains hesitated, waiting for orders that would never come. Some withdrew. Some kept firing without coordination, easy targets for the human frigates. The formation collapsed not through destruction, but through the sudden absence of the mind that held it together. Galen was captured on the dead bridge of his own flagship. They brought him before Dara in the shuttle bay. He looked at her with his compound eyes, and for a long time, neither of them spoke. "How?" he finally asked. "You killed me 480 times, Dara said. "Did you think I was not paying attention?" In the weeks that followed, the Gorvathi Dominion quietly dismantled the burial program. Not out of mercy, out of fear. Admiral Cassin opened peace negotiations. "If you bury another one of us," she told the Gorvathi delegation, "imagine what they will learn." On the observation deck of the border station, Nally found Dara watching the stars. She sat beside her and asked what she was thinking. Dara was quiet for a long time. "I died 480 times," she said. "Each time, I told myself, remember this, learn this, survive this." She paused. "Now I have to learn something much harder." "What is that?" "How to live." The stars burned on in silence. And for the first time in 20 years, Dara Finn closed her eyes without being afraid of what she would see.